Do you remember having friends like that when we were kids? I don't remember having anybody that sat in front of the PlayStation 1 until they were blue in the face.
No, definitely.
I associate that with the newer consoles because of everything it added, and it became your video games
it became
connected
an escape
you to
from reality.
Well, because your video games now connect you to the fucking planet.
Exactly.
They connect you to the fucking planet, and you don't need to get together with anybody. And usually when you got together with somebody, then nobody gets together and plays video games anymore.
No.
Nobody calls their friend and says, come over and fucking sit next to me and play either a 2-player game, or the fun thing to do was to sit and pass a controller back and forth until you beat a fucking 1-player game.
Right.
Beginning to end. So now, when you can connect to the entire fucking planet and get everybody in your headset and play video games, it becomes something that, if you're a real junkie, you're really addicted to this shit, can just go on for fucking days.
It's a disease.
I'd always kind of remembered video games being like a part of everything you had going on. That there was a time to go in the house and kick it on the video games, even if it was for a couple hours or for the rest of the night. But we seem to have the best of both worlds in that time, that it was cool if you had a friend that had a fucking PlayStation. If you had a PlayStation, it was dope. And you could game on it for a long time. But it just seemed like we were outside once in a while. We were playing video games once in a while. Like, part of the time we were out doing shit. We wanted to be out in the neighborhood. And then it's like, well, once we got exhausted from all that, let's go in and play some video games. Or if it was just too fucking hot outside, we sit in and play video games.
Yeah.
But the advancement of video games just, like, took over the fucking subconscious. It got insane.
How about this? Did you grow up with a TV in your room?
I remember getting the TV in the room being, like, a privilege.
Yeah, I never had a TV in my room. When I was growing up, I never had a TV in my room. And now I do have a TV in my room, and I'm thankful for it. But I can't even imagine. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I would go over a sleepover when I was a kid, and the kid would fall asleep with the TV on. I can't do that.
Yeah.
I need like absolute silence, absolute darkness, and like that's just something. That's saying something where these kids are constantly stimulated by, TV, the computer, the phone.
There was a time where the television
Are we fucking old?
No, but there was a time where the television became part of the accessories of a bedroom.
Yeah.
So there was a time where it seemed like cool if you had a television in your bedroom, and now it's like, I got my fucking bed in here, I got my nightstand, I have my dresser, I need a place to put the television. I'm not saying that only like the greediest rich kids had a television in their room. I can't, but I can
tell you right now,
there was a time where it was just a convenience to have a TV in your room, but now it's like everybody in the room got a fucking television.
When people would come over to my house and they would stay at my room, they would be like, "Oh, you don't have a TV in your room?" And I'm like, "No." When did that become like the norm to have a TV in your room? My first cell phone was when I was like 12 years old.
Yeah.
Kids nowadays have them at like 6.
I'm not trying to sound like an old man, but I definitely disconnect from this age of gaming.
Oh, yeah, me too.
Like a motherfucker.
No.
And if I play video games, I'm playing video games from the past because to me, it's like a nostalgia thing. I enjoy playing a fucking game that I came across. I mean, even you were telling me that the reason you didn't come in early yesterday or as early as you wanted to is because you got caught up playing Uncharted. Even the first Uncharted is fucking, it's not massively old. It wasn't from that long ago, but that's quite a few years back now.
That was 11 years ago. It was 2007.
That was 11 years ago.
2007.
Look at how fucking time passes.
It's produced by Naughty Dog, which produces Crash Bandicoot. Yeah. And you know what? It actually swept the nation, that game, because back in 2007, that was like the first real game that used like live action characters and segments like that to really tell a story in their gameplay. And
Naughty Dog, they were pioneers.
Yeah, and you know what? I don't play video games very often. I can tell you right now,
I disconnected from it once it became something that you could get sucked into for a fucking week at a time.
I can tell you right now, I would ask for 2 or 3 video games every Christmas, right?
Right.
And I would get those video games, and for the 2 weeks after Christmas, you couldn't contact me. I was playing those games. But after 2 weeks, I didn't touch it. Right. I didn't touch it ever again.
Now there's just fucking... There's something... I know I sound like an old man, but there's something that rubs me the wrongest way about my fucking house sounds like Fortnite. It's like, you want to know the characteristics of my house? It smells like piss because I can't get rid of these 3 fucking animals that I never fucking wanted. And it sounds like Fortnite. At all times, my house just sounds like... Down, 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 at all times, and it drives me fucking insane. It stays up on the television. It's like these kids don't even. I'm gonna sell their fucking games to Play and Trade because they don't need any other fucking games but Fortnite. And Fortnite stays on the fucking TV, and nobody really gets together to play it. If they get together and they're just in the same place at the same time, it's a convenience to pull it up and be in the same room together. But I don't think they can. I've seen them fucking go. Mark has the Fortnite in his room. Rock's got the Fortnite in his room, and they go in the other room. They'll be in the same room together instead of playing video games in the same room together. They split and go in separate rooms in the same fucking house so they can connect together in this game where you drop out of the sky at a free fall rate of 2 fucking minutes until it takes you to touch the ground, and then you die.
And guess how they're talking to each other?
They're talking to each other through the headset when they're
literally 5 feet from each other.
Hey man, you could say I'm like a fucking grumpy old man with this shit. Something happened in the evolution of gaming that made it stop feeling like something for kids to do. Like, it started just feeling more like the privilege of technology. That the same way eventually your phone became something that you could do everything on, that your phone went from being a device that had a few extra features besides calling to being a handheld mobile fucking computer. And the same thing happened with the video game systems. With these consoles now can do everything. And then it makes it feel less about gaming to me. And it makes it, to me, it gives me the vibe of more of like a fucking cult thing. Like, these guys are not like Rock and Sean, my brothers and their friends and their brothers. They're not gamers. They're not like hardcore fucking gamers. We couldn't sit and have a whole conversation with them about like the greatest video game icons of all time. Like, compare how popular was fucking Crash Bandicoot to Sly Cooper or Jak and Daxter and Ratchet and Clank and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
But they will all sit and play that fucking Fortnite, and before it was Fortnite, it was Call of Duty, and before it was Call of Duty, you could probably go all the way back to it being Battlefront or something like that. But it's just like those games that capture everybody because of its multiplayer aspect and just sucks a bunch of people into sitting in front of their televisions and connecting with their friends for days and days on end to play the same repeat shit. Feels a lot different to me than when we used to fucking make it through a game with one character and you'd pass the controller back and forth between you and another live human being that's next to you. It just creates a completely different vibe. I can't say it's not video games because it's all fucking video gaming, but it doesn't have any like nostalgia factor for me. There's like a nostalgia factor between sitting in front of the fucking PlayStation 2 and making it through a whole game. No connection to the internet, no connection to your other friends, and actually playing a game that is like you making it through fucking levels and a goal to hit every fucking level and every boss and make it to the end, not something that is kind of cycled on repeat so you can all play the same shit every day and connect with all your friends. I don't understand all the videos that people like to do, recording these live streams of them playing games.
Oh man, I can't. I can't imagine. Can you know there's people that are making millions of dollars fucking playing video games.
It's not people. Like I can't say
like I could see it because it's entertaining as like, you know, if the person has a good personality and, you know, is talking throughout the whole thing and, you know, making jokes and
well for me, I used to do the video game reviews back in the day, and even just the other day I posted up a little Sly Cooper video, got the Sly Cooper fans talking, but it was like just a little piece. It was like how I feel about the series. Under 5 minutes, I threw some gameplay up there, and I really do enjoy like putting commentaries together. But first of all, I never had the time to sit there, record with a mic, and also record the television and play through a whole fucking game.
Yeah.
And some people are really good at fucking games; they can bang it out in a night. I could never do it. But then the live streams is like they really seem. This is where I completely fucking disconnect from video games. Is they seem really keen on like, oh, look at this little attack that I just did right there. That's the coolest fucking thing. That's why I'm like streaming this and showing you. It's like you're playing the same shit everybody else is playing, especially on something like Fortnite. Like you're just going around looking to shoot people.
Do you really think that people haven't seen that before? You know,
I find it amazing that people are like, I love watching this guy because he gets all the special items and some shit like that. I just don't fucking get it. That's where it becomes completely fucking nerded out to me. The level of video game playing that attracts me the most is a scenario where you just have like a really good fucking game you played as a kid and you enjoy revisiting it. That's about it for me. Where it becomes, there's a line between being a fan of video games and just being a fucking nerd. And there's nothing wrong with being a nerd, but that's where I can no longer relate.
You know what? I can't stand these multiplayer campaign games. You know what I mean? I remember when all video games only had single player campaign modes, and you know, if you got stuck on a level or a task or challenge, you'd have to, you know, go on to fucking cheatcode.com and look up a walkthrough. You know what I mean? Like that was like fun for me, was trying to beat the next level, trying to finish the game.
You toss me one more cigarette?
Yeah, sure thing. But you know, that was a case where you know, you felt like rewarded for finishing the game, and then once you were done, that was it. You probably wouldn't revisit it for like a year or two until you tried to beat it, with a harder level, maybe. You know, but like now it's like these kids are playing games that are 10-minute matches with multiplayer people, and it's cool. I mean, you're connecting with people from all across the world, but is there really a task at hand? And that was my allure to video games in the first place, was being able to accomplish these tasks and complete these challenges and feel rewarded for that. But
there's no camaraderie anymore.
Exactly, there's no camaraderie in it.
What created the camaraderie of playing video games is, and you know what? Let me sound like a jaded old man, because the way the times have sped past my own fucking growth in terms of how technology grows, and like my mind being able to keep up with it has made me like a jaded old man in this respect. But there was a camaraderie associated with video games, and what created the camaraderie was like having some fucking buddies over. I mean, even as a fucking young adult at my age, I would fucking do it. If I had somebody that would play through one of my favorite one fucking player games and pass it back and forth until we beat the whole fucking thing, is a totally different thing than connecting with people you've never fucking met before. They could be 6-year-old kids talking shit and yelling the fucking N-word and saying a bunch of foul shit. Or it could be your buddies, like fucking rocking them, just connect with their boys that are across town. But it's a completely different thing, because then it becomes like a mix between social media and a video game. It's almost like your perfect blend of social media, of like a fucking, figure it like a fucking FaceTime, Snapchat call, whatever the fuck, or fucking the video games, kids are into Skype and Discord. You fucking connect that shit with being able to play a fucking video game. And it creates an experience where being solo, being by yourself and just sitting in front of a television, it's still as fucking lonely, in my opinion. You're still just sitting there by your fucking self, but everybody's there live with you. And I don't know, man. It's hard to sound like I'm not just this outdated old fucking man.
I know. I feel like we're like...
But we are... Well, the thing we're talking about is just two different experiences. It's not really so much saying my generation is better than yours, or we're just a little bit older than the kids that are into video games now, but it's still just relating or comparing two different scenarios. It's just a very different scenario than fucking playing video games with your boys that, you got a new fucking game and everybody came over for the weekend to play it. Or sometimes you have the friend that like had the game that you didn't have enough money to buy, so you go and play it with him, and it's just the coolest fucking thing in the world because it got you out of the house, you went and did something social, and you had the video game, as opposed to you sitting by yourself in front of your fucking television, and you're still by yourself even though everybody's in your headset.
Yeah.
And you can call me like some outdated like old man mentality having motherfucker for pointing that out, but
we're breeding a new generation of people that are so technology driven, and that's great and all. However, when I see a kid that's in diapers playing fucking Fruit Ninja on an iPad, that like burns me up, man. I'm like, damn,
I think
man.
it's definitely hindering them. It's hindering their mental state.
100%. And I think parents might use it as a tool when they don't have anything to entertain those kids. Just shut the kid the fuck up. But it's a little bit sad to see that that's the direction that we are heading, or that we already have headed in.
There's also really like I would really tell parents like, from somebody who's somewhat been a figure of the minor league section of the YouTube gaming cats. Mm-hmm. I'm getting too tired to talk, but honestly, for parents, I think there really is a decent way to get your kids into video games, and it's by keeping that camaraderie that video games offers alive. Like literally, there's nothing wrong with sitting down with your kid and being like, check out this cool character in this game and let me show you how to play it, and you get into it. But sitting your kid in front of an iPad, letting them figure out how to play Slice Fruit fucking Ninja or whatever that stupid fucking game is on his own, and then get engrossed in the brainwave state that you're only in when you're a fucking child and you're in front of a fucking screen. Your mind goes into different brainwave states when you're fucking just sitting in front of a television or sitting in front of a fucking video game. It's literally, you can almost feel what I'm talking about when you picture yourself in front of a television soaking in a fucking film. You literally go into a different brainwave state to stare at a fucking screen, and partly, and it's the engagement in it.
Yeah, and I mean, even, when kids, like, throw tantrums in the supermarket because they wanted that toy or whatever, or a candy bar or whatever, and those parents, have to make a conscious decision. If I succumb to my kid's, little tantrum here, and I give him what he wants, he controls me. He controls me.
Right.
And now it's kind of the same thing with the video games on the iPad. You know, if you give a toddler, you know, the chance to play that video game, and then you take it away from him, you know, he controls you.
Yeah,
because he's gonna want that.
Lose his fucking shit.
He's gonna lose his fucking shit, or you know, freak out if he doesn't get what he wants.
I think when I was a kid, my father established the relationship that I have with video games, and it's weird to talk about something involving gaming in this intellectual manner. But when you really think about it, like to think back, I think my father created or helped create or influence the relationship I had with video games by introducing me to a game that he liked, playing it with me, and letting me experience the camaraderie of enjoying playing a game with another person as something you sit and do for the evening with somebody else and get into it and enjoy it, much like, honestly, a family would get together and play a family board game or something.
Right. My mom and I used to play Spyro.
Exactly.
You know?
And what that does is it forms the kid's relationship with video games. Now, day one in 2018, you put your infant in front of the fucking iPad in front of Angry Birds or that Ninja Slice and Fruit game or whatever the fuck, whatever isn't too difficult for them to learn how to do on their own, and they just sit there and zone the fuck out. That builds their relationship with video games for the rest of their fucking life, whereas now they are going to be tuned into video games as an escape from any kind of intellectual properties, from any bit of use of your brain other than fucking your eyes glued to that fucking thing and moving your fucking fingers to control the buttons. And that's your quiet time where you zone the fuck out. You don't think, you don't figure nothing out but what's going on in front of that game. And then it's forever your way to shut the kid the fuck up when you're just trying to do adult shit like relax and have a glass of wine, and the kid won't stop complaining, so you give him the fucking video games. So you're giving him that solidarity. Is that the word? Like fucking, is that the word?
I think maybe. I don't know. Finish your thought and I'll tell you.
You're just giving them, like, here, go be by yourself and entertain yourself. Like, this is your way of completely entertaining yourself.
Yeah, and you're completely isolating them. Now, I remember, do you remember the PC games that, like, when you were, like, a really small kid, like 6 or 7 years old, that actually, like, taught you things?
Yeah.
Like the Hooked on Phonics stuff, and, I know that's not a video game, but, like, I can't think of anything on the top of my head, but I remember there were, like, games that I would play that would teach you how to count, teach you how to, you know, read, teach you how to write. All
those
that stuff,
are those almost non-existent anymore?
Yeah, no, I don't know if those are existent anymore, but you know, I mean, if there was a way to bridge the gap and actually have a creative, constructive game that toddlers could play on the iPhone or the iPad, I'm sure it exists. But are the parents really looking into that and using that as a tool, or are they just giving their kid Angry Birds and Fruit Ninja and saying, hey, go fuck yourself, be in the corner, isolate yourself, I don't want to fucking hear anything, I had a long day at work, you know?
And so that's the thing. I think video games and nostalgia go hand in hand. And video games are all about nostalgia for me. So video games take me back to a time when I was a kid and I was playing with other kids.
Right.
And I was being a fucking kid. Or I was playing it with a parent if a parent introduced you to a certain game. So when day one you've been put in front of the fucking iPad or put in front of the PlayStation or the Xbox, I know some parents of their kids are fucking like 3 years old. Like, I didn't know how to play video games when I was 3 years old.
No.
Like, they already know how to play video games at 3 years old.
And then they're asking you on your phone, oh, do you have games? Do you have games?
Yeah, and that's from leaving a child unattended to entertain themselves. They figure it out eventually at 3 fucking years old. So then as a young adult or a teenager or even a preteen, your nostalgia aspect, what you link to playing video games is being by yourself and entertaining yourself. So video games then is just a way for me to entertain myself, occupy my time, occupy my mind. There's like no memory of like, hey, I got to sit and play a game with somebody. And it's fucking sad to me. It's sad to me. And to me, it creates a completely different experience for playing video games and a completely different relationship with playing video games. Whereas it's like, this is just how I occupy my time. This is just how I occupy my mind. And I go into this brainwave state where it's just like me in the game and I zone out. There's no intellectual thought put into anything. There's hardly any skill in figuring out what's going on. And it's just also not a fucking blast. It does become just a mind occupier.
I think what really made me like video games a lot was when I was growing up, I actually had a home theater in my house where I would have like a huge 12-foot screen and a projector, and I would be able to hook up my PlayStation 3 to that because that was really cool for me. I'm getting to play these games and the characters are life size. You know what I mean? Like, that was cool to me. But, you know, I never really got into playing video games on my phone, or, you know, even now, like, just playing video games on, like, a regular TV isn't as stimulating as it was for me when I was playing it, like, in that retrospect, because that actually made me feel like I was part of the game. You know, I would play like Madden, you know, 07, and I'd be like, holy shit, these, you know, the quarterback is the size of me, you know, whatever. So like that was kind of cool for me, but I don't know, man. I really don't. I don't get it.
I'm telling you, it's like maybe the most intellectual conversation I've ever had about video games. This is the first time I've thought about it. The first time I've really thought about not just looking at it from a perspective of, oh, gaming's changed just like movies changed and music has changed and the culture has changed.
But how is it affecting our society?
How is it affecting our society goes a little bit deeper than just saying it's not so productive to sit in front of the video games all day. Because video games is a perfectly fun and fair fucking outlet for you to enjoy yourself and just enjoy your fucking time. But there's something that rubs me the wrong way about it being your distressor and being a part of relaxation in a sense where you're just like comatose in yourself, like between your mind and the fucking screen, especially if it's something really monotonous, and especially if it's something completely between you and the screen. Like, I know it sounds like really in depth, but I mean really, like, for there to be like no fun associated with you and another person sitting there and getting into some fucking video games.
I mean, I can't tell you how many times I would have a friend over and we would play, you know, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle on our video game system, and that was fucking awesome because, you know, it would be a 2-player campaign where you guys are both working together to, you know, beat a level or whatever. And I think that was honestly one of like the first games that you were able to do that, where you had a campaign where it just like split down the middle and you guys were both working to actually beat the game together. But, you know, that was really cool because then, you know, you could have a friend or two or four, you know, on the PlayStation 2. I remember, or PlayStation 3. I think it was PlayStation 2, where you could have like 4 controllers and have 4 people play the same game and do the same tasks. You know?
I enjoy the nostalgia associated with games you loved as a kid.
Yeah,
and I enjoy getting up and playing video games with people. I mean, people loved doing that at the time. Like, that was something to get together and do.
Yeah, I mean, when did video games become less of a multiplayer, have friends over and play video games, into a lonely single player, you know, online mode where, you know, you're connecting with people on the internet or through this video game all throughout the world, but you're not meeting these people. It's not like you've ever met them, or, you know, people call these people their friends. You know, it's like, okay, yeah, you might have. It's like a pen pal, I guess. You know,
really.
you have just a social interaction of talking to somebody on the headset from a different country.
I'm telling you, right fucking now, I'm fucking 22, and my favorite game as a kid was Sly Cooper. I just got Sly Cooper 2 and 3, went out and bought them, or one of them I copped off my buddy Matt in Babylon, and I would fucking die to fucking stay up and fucking play that all the way through with somebody. Like,
and that's how I feel about Spyro.
Yeah, pass the controller back and forth until you beat it, because you make a fucking evening out of it, because what's in between all that, and not to be too ridiculous about it, but for real, when you think about it, what's in between all that is you go through 2 levels, and then you're a little bit beat from staring at the screen for so fucking long, which just doesn't seem to happen to anybody anymore. Like, after a while, you get a little burnt out, you need to take a break. That just doesn't seem to happen.
No, it doesn't.
But even as adults, we're adults now. We're not fucking kids. We don't need to take a nap in between or fucking have a fucking snack in between before we burn out and fall asleep. As adults, we fucking make it through a couple levels, take a little fucking cigarette break, fucking go make something to eat, you chill, you laugh, maybe grab a couple drinks. It's a fucking evening.
And you might do something different after that. You might say, okay, now you know what? Instead of playing video games on the TV, I'm gonna, you know, go take a walk. You know, I might go listen to some music or whatever.
But even if you consistently play through the whole game, that's an event for the night.
Oh yeah, that's hard.
It almost reminds me of when, like, I know this conversation is getting all over the place, but I swear to God, it almost reminds me of when people talk about how to use a drug. Like, when people talk about how to use marijuana, like, honestly, that it's probably not the best idea to become a stoner, somebody that smokes marijuana every single fucking day. Right. But if you haven't smoked it in a very long time, and once in a blue moon you want to smoke a good amount of it, you're going to get a completely different experience than somebody who's completely dulled their senses to it.
Yeah.
And I know it sounds like a bizarre example, but people can dull their senses to anything.
Yeah.
You can dull your senses to food. You can dull your senses to energy drinks to where you no longer get the energy from it. How many people dull themselves to coffee to where, like, you need 2 pots to get you up and fucking working in the morning?
Well, I mean, think about like a drug like heroin, which affects your dopamine receptors, right?
Right.
So now you're taking a drug that's affecting your dopamine, and the only way that you could feel happy is by taking that drug.
That's why it's
and now
not a bizarre
you're
example.
sober, and things that normally would have made you happy are so dull to you that you can't even enjoy regular life.
And that's why it's not a bizarre example. Even though we're talking about video games and we get on heroin, no, anything can affect your dopamine receptors. Anything can dull them.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's a completely different experience to have your mind locked into a fucking screen at all hours of the fucking day.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you have work to break it up. Maybe you have somewhat of a social life. But at the end of the day, like returning to a drug, you're returning to locking your fucking head into that video game for the rest of the fucking night, filling up the rest of your free time. That is a completely different scenario, and also a completely different scenario for your dopamine levels or your dopamine receptors. To not playing video games for even just a couple days and then getting up with some friends or even getting up by yourself and being like, oh, holy shit, I get a chance to play through a new game and see how far I can get.
Yeah. And
your dopamine levels are going to respond differently based on the scenario. Like how much, everything is how much you take in or how little you take in.
And that just keeps it enjoyable. That keeps tasks that, people would normally do every day or, involve themselves with for hours on end, and it keeps it enjoyable.
Yeah.
I can't sit in front of a TV and watch a whole series the entire time. I have to watch a couple different series. If I'm really gonna be a TV nut, I have to watch a couple different shows at the same time to really like get that kind of different stimuli. Whether it be I was gonna watch an action show and now I'm gonna watch a comedy show. Whatever. And I think it's the same thing with video games and taking a break and coming back to it, because think about it, like when you have a conversation with somebody and it's a really good conversation, you remember the feeling of that conversation.
Right.
You might not remember the topic, you might not remember anything that was said in that conversation, but you remember the good memory of having a good conversation and the feeling that you have talking about that stuff, right? But when you go and you play a video game, can you really recall like that same kind of euphoric feeling when you're playing a game? You might feel nostalgic, but you're not going to feel that.
Do you even feel
feeling.
nostalgic? Do you even recall any memories?
Exactly.
If you and your boys on Fortnite, which I only know so much about Fortnite, if you and your boys killed a bunch of motherfuckers on Fortnite and you laughed about it over the headset because you're playing with people from around the world about how awesome that kill was, how you work together as a team, are you going to recall that on a drunken Saturday night where, dude, do you remember when we killed that shit on that one level of Fortnite while you were in your house on your television and I was in my house on my television across town and we really kicked ass? But if you're in the same room together and you're playing together and you're also enjoying your night, like
that's an experience.
It accommodates the evening.
Right.
So it sounds like a bizarre topic to get into, and it sounds like we just have this old man mentality where we're like too old to relate to the youth of gaming and all the rest of it. I'm sick of people like considering you a hater for just, critiquing something or just offering a different perspective. But I'm telling you something, there's a completely different relationship you can have with entertainment, movies, video games, anything. I'm not saying reduce everything to a small amount of usage. I'm just noticing the effects of drowning your brain out with too much of anything to the point where it somewhat loses its excitement. I mean, if you had sex all the motherfucking time, unless you are a fucking nymphomaniac, like I don't, and I've experienced anyways, it just becomes somewhat fucking dull.
Yeah.
Or fucking too much sex, or too much. The easy example of people to relate to is too much sex with the same fucking person. Is why how many fucking marriages fail.
Oh man, you want to get into that topic?
No, I'm saying, how many marriages fail? People have sex with the same fucking person. We're gonna piss off
a lot of people tonight.
Too often. It's weird to offer all these different examples, but it's just a different scenario. We've been hardworking people for the past couple, or for the past like year and a half at least. You ever found yourself in a scenario where, dude, I've been busting my ass, I've been saving money, I've been having somewhat of a social life on top of it all. Fuck, I haven't sat down and watched a movie in like a week.
Yep.
I haven't played a video game in
100%.
like a month.
100%.
And it becomes a fucking nice little fucking treat. I got to a point where I had not sat down and watched a new movie in like 4 fucking months.
Yeah.
And to offer myself that fucking one weekend where I was going to catch up on some movies was fucking ill. It was fucking excellent.
Yeah.
And in the same way, I sold all my fucking video games to Fun Mac Bruder, the fucking second to last film I was working on. Hadn't had video games in forever. When I give myself that night to fucking sit and play through a fucking video game, I don't feel unproductive. I don't feel like I'm wasting my fucking time.
It's a treat. It's a reward.
And my fucking dopamine receptors have not been dulled to the process of sitting and playing a fucking video game because I do it every fucking day. Like, I haven't done it forever. And that is a fucking blast. And and it just needs to go uninterrupted, and the shit just needs to fucking happen.
It's a different thing, man.
For sure.
You get dulled to anything too much of it. So I guess the answer to everything, even like everything we fucking talked about tonight, is it sounds a little whack to say everything in moderation, but what I will say is maybe everything in a fucking nice little balanced variety.
Hell yeah.
Everything,
Hell yeah.
right? Ain't that the fucking moral of the story?
Yeah.
Everything in a nice balance, and then kind of going backwards and just like switching it up and taking things out of order and fucking remixing them.